Welcome everybody to episode 4 of the Dynamic Discs Open Roundtable. This is Friday night after round 3, the night before round 4. As always, I am Anthony. I'm joined by Miss Erika Stinchcomb, Mr. Christopher Clemons, and Mr. Calvin Heimburg as well. First of all, thank you all three for joining me. How did your guys' rounds go today? We'll start with Erika, and then we'll work our way around the table.
I would like to specify that it's closer to a rectangle than a square, first of all. This
has been brought up before.
Okay.
It is clearly rounded.
I mean, it's rounded on two sides, so we'll call it an oblong table.
Underneath this, there are not corners. There's rounded edges. Therefore, it's a round table.
Okay.
We can put quotes on it.
Good.
That's not the point, Erika. How did your round go?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I just needed to get that out of the way. The disc kind of did what I want, which is the dream. Made a couple errors, but made all my putts, which is what gets you the money, right? That's what they say. I don't no complaints. My first round was okay. My second round was a little frustrating, and today I just came out firing and really attacked the course the whole day, and it paid off.
For me today, my round was not great, but I really enjoyed it. Like, the conditions were perfect. The sun was shining, so I had a lot of fun. But I'm definitely looking forward to tomorrow.
Mine was kind of strange. I scored okay, but a lot of unforced errors, a few inside the circle missed putts, a few too many OB shots, but only a couple bogeys, so could have been a lot worse.
Okay, so I want to get Chris and Calvin, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because Erika said something earlier before the comment about the table that I also disagreed with. You were talking with AJ earlier, and you said that you were excited to play the country club because you feel like it has more space.
A little bit.
And it's a little bit more attackable than Jones Gold.
Perhaps this is just an FPO versus MPO question as well, because I was surprised that the scores were not as hot at Country Club for the men as they were for compared to Jones Gold. Like, everyone shredded at Jones, so I don't know if that course is easier for you guys or just more attackable, or...
Yeah, Jones is easy. It's like birdie fest.
Jeez.
Birdie or die.
I think it's so hard.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how many different paths there are for women.
Lots.
But there are tons of almost give me par fours. The par threes are fairly tough in holes 1 and 18, but everything in between there is if you're parring, you're losing strokes.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of 630 some odd foot par fours where you're allowed to open up off the first shot. So you're pitching the second shot.
I would say though for FPO, that's max distance drives for us. If you need to throw 2 325 foot shots or whatever, that's as far as a lot of the women in the field can throw on a controlled shot, but it's pretty max distance with really specific accuracy. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear maybe if other women agree with me or not. Maybe leave some comments wherever this is. I'm curious.
Is it how many different basket and tee placements do you guys have? A lot?
14? I don't know.
Really?
A lot. At least 10 easily, I think.
Okay.
At both courses?
I think there might be more at Jones, but there's quite a few different ones, yeah. I might look this up while you guys take over for a minute.
So then, Chris and Calvin, would you guys agree that, I think the term that you used was that there's more space at Country Club. I won't directly quote you, but I'll directly quote you. Would you guys agree that Jones has less space? Is there more trees, or?
There's more space to mess up at Country Club.
That was what I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, I don't even know if I agree with that. I feel like the OBs around greens at Country Club is way tighter than anywhere
that's what I'm
else.
saying. I'm just saying
true.
there's more OB at Country Club. Country Club is harder. It requires more accurate distant shots. At Jones Gold, if there's a 650 foot par 4, I could throw 2 mids. But there's no way you're throwing mids at Country Club and getting birdies. And only a couple par 3s would be like that. But off the tee on any par 4, you got to be getting some distance.
You agree, Calvin?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jones Gold, you can a lot of the holes you can throw anything you want. It's very convenient to throw a distance driver because it leaves a very small distance left to the basket. So as to our country club, yeah, I think it's just greens are a little tighter and you got to place a distance shot to then throw kind of a more technical approach on the par fours.
Right. There's just like more par fours at Jones Gold, I guess. And I bet that I know in ball golf, like Tiger Woods scores really well on par fives. But I would say for disc golf, at least for me, in my opinion, I probably score the best on par fours because there's a lot less pressure to throw a perfect drive off the tee because you can get away with a little errant shot here or there for the most part, especially at Jones Gold, and you can still get a birdie, but you can like almost ensure a par. But on par threes, your tee shot has to be pretty prime to get a birdie, I think.
So specifically speaking to the MPO layout, the par at Jones Gold was a 69, and I believe Country Club is a 65. Is that
For
right?
men?
Yeah.
It's 65 for men, yeah.
But you guys, so it sounds like, would you say that it's just the holes at Jones Gold? Would you say like, yeah, okay, it's just a soft par four, or
Yeah.
would you say should it be a 3? Should the par just be adjusted?
No.
I mean, it would be, if you changed them all to par threes, there would be like 0 to 1 birdie on a lot of the holes every day. I mean, it's not going to change how anyone approaches any of those holes. I think there just aren't enough obstacles for the distance. So I just think they're not quite up to the standard of the tour at this point.
Right.
I mean, I would even go out and say that Jones Gold's actual par should be 68. I think.
You think what 14 should
I
be?
think
a 4?
14's for 4.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said.
Yeah, we talked about that like a week ago. And I was like, I think that it is a 4. I mean, you know, it's a 3 is pretty hard, but it's definitely achievable. But not when people like park in the middle of the fairway.
Sure.
Then it's not.
And the one day that you'd practiced it was like 25 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour headwinds.
Right.
And then it feels a
Right.
lot more like a 5. But it's not fair to base par off of a certain condition.
Right. I think that Jones Gold, the park in general, may not have the like obstacles to make like a world championship course. And the world championships are going to be here next year. So I think that Country Club is, you know, I think it's probably up to standard, but I don't know what other course we're going to play because Jones Gold as it stands now is not a world championship course.
But it is for the women.
That's fair. And you guys could definitely play there.
I brought this up a couple times to my card mates and said how much harder I thought Jones Gold was than what I expected. You know, I've played Jones East, I've played Jones West. I thought it'll be just a chilled park course with like plenty of birdies. And granted, I was able to birdie more than I thought because I practiced in wind and then played in slightly better conditions. But I looked up the tee pads and it's actually way less than I thought. So there are only 6 different tee pads at Jones, but 2 other holes that call the par. Like for you guys, it's a 3
4.
and for us it's a 4. And like hole 1 is a 5 for us.
Right.
And it's a 4 for you, right? So,
That's fair.
but there's 11 different ones at the Country Club, which is maybe why I think that one's more attackable. Maybe it's like a little bit more designed to give the FPO field a chance to birdie it, because you know there's 6 more different tee pads at Country Club versus Jones Gold. So maybe that's why I think that maybe just a couple more short pads at Jones Gold would make it that really attackable course. But yeah, it's interesting because it's so hard for us, I think. So it's interesting to hear you guys say like, oh, whatever, it's easy. Birdie fest.
Yeah, and I think that kind of what Calvin was talking about where, you know, a 650-foot par 4, like he throws a distance driver just because, right? If you were to throw eagle, you could probably still get far enough up there where you just throw your approach disc a little bit harder. Whereas for the FPO field, 650 feet in 2 throws, you know, in the right conditions, Calvin and Chris and the top MPO guys can do that in 1 throw, right? But the top FPO arms, 650 it's a 2-shot hole minimum. Right.
Right. And that's probably, you know, there are women playing in the FPO who like 300 is kind of a stretch. Sometimes I feel like, the top, like Katrina, Kona, like they can get up close to 400, but like 300, that's pushing it. And so when you add in wind, OB, stuff like that, it becomes pretty tough.
I would call myself like relatively average in the scheme of like my distance, right? So like I can get over 300 relatively easily and accurately, and then 325 is like pretty normal. And then if I like really try as hard as I can and lose some accuracy, like I can get 350 or even like a crazy 375, and that's
Right.
and that's pretty standard, I think, for like the mid-level FPO player. So yeah, Jones just demands a lot if you're asking for 325 in a narrow landing zone.
Right. And we have like hole 16 at Jones. It's like it used to be a par 4 for us. I think it is a par 4 for you guys.
16, yeah, it is.
And
Super tweener.
for us now, it's a par 3, but like compared to 4 or 5 years ago, maybe that was a par 4 for men, but now it's like, no, that's a par 3, like for us. Because I just threw a spike, like a power forehand around the outside. I didn't even have to flex it, and it's like 425. But for us, that's a hardish par 3. But for women, like if you guys are having those par 3s when you play the same tees that we do, a lot of those par 3s are going to play like that for you guys. And so like you almost have to lay up, and the best you're going to be getting is a par on some of those holes.
I think they did make 16 a little easier than it used to be too, though. I think that OB on the right side got pulled back to where it was friendlier. And then also I know I've played in the past where they left the grass tall in the middle to where you're not going to skip out of that middle
That's
section.
true.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, I regardless of what that OB is, I think for MPO it's a par 3. Too many people can just literally throw a spike down on it. So
What was your play on that, Calvin? Did you go up the middle or hyzer on the outside?
I played 2 different ways. I went up the middle day 1 and then spike hyzer day 2.
I did the same.
So it worked both ways. I got a little lucky going up the middle. I caught a tree and stayed in bounds. But yeah, I think the spike hyzer, I didn't practice it, so I didn't do it. But I saw everyone on my card do it, and it looked pretty easy, so I tried it.
Because it was that right to left the second day. So it was like, let's do that.
Yeah.
And they give you that like probably 40 feet short of the basket.
Mm-hmm.
So you realistically only have to throw it like 390.
Yeah.
Only. Sorry.
There's on the left side too, if you were to get it too high in the air, there's a lot of room to the left
I saw
where
it.
you can fade out that way. And you'll be circle 2, but you're safe.
Right.
So what did you guys, we'll start with you, Calvin. What did the three of you, what do you think you did well today? Playing disc golf is not the answer. Specifically playing disc golf.
Welding isn't either.
You're doing really well at tying eagle every round. Haven't you been tied every round?
I guess. I don't know. I don't really feel like I did many things really well. I don't feel like I putted well. I missed 3 inside the circle. I don't think I threw the disc incredibly well most of the day. I got a couple lucky breaks that really, saved me some strokes. But like I also had 3 or 4 OB strokes. So I feel like I left a lot out there. I mean, I still scored. I was able to get pars on a bunch of holes that I went OB on, but like it's hard to just really feel like I did anything well. Just everything felt a little off today, to be honest.
So does that, heading into tomorrow, does that change your game plan at all? Or do you just think like, okay, the game plan's there, I just didn't execute it properly. If I do that tomorrow, I'm golden?
Yeah, I mean, nothing. I mean, the only thing that changes out at any of the courses out here, game plan wise, is it's always dictated based on the wind. I mean, I'm not taking the prior day into consideration when I'm playing a hole. Like, I'm still going to play, depending on the wind, I'll probably be playing every hole for birdie because that's what it's going to take to compete to win against whatever Paul, Ricky, Eagle, Chris. I don't know who else is at the top, but I know those are the top 5 right now.
Chris, what did you do well today?
I'd say my putting was really good. I looked on UDIS though, and I don't think our UDIS person did it
I was going to say the numbers don't quite line up.
It was their first time doing it, and I looked at it and I was like, "What?" But I feel like I putted well, and I feel honestly over the last like 2 or 3 weeks that's kind of been my struggle, and that's usually a part of my game I can rely on to always be there, and so that was good for me. But I mean, I would just like to give myself more opportunities tomorrow. I know it's going to be windier, but I feel like if I can shoot a good round, I can move up the leaderboard quite a bit.
Erika, again, when you're talking with AJ, it sounds like you kind of did everything well today.
I would say if you had to put one thing on it, is I had confidence in myself. I believed in myself well today, and I think maybe, nerves affect everyone a little bit differently, but if I'm missing putts and missing lines, it's because I'm not committing. I'm just second guessing. Like a good example today is hole 8, which is a par 5 for us. Everyone on my card went before me and threw like a mid-range layup, and we're just like maybe playing for par or like a slightly harder birdie, and I'm throwing friggin' Lucid Raider attacking for a 4, and I was like, maybe I should play short, which I didn't practice, and I don't know, I just second guessed myself for 1 second, and I was like, no, you can do it. Threw OB off the tee, but got way down there, and then just kept attacking for the 4. Like I threw it in for 4, but with the OB stroke it was a 5, so I saved the par. I like made all my putts because I knew I can, other than like 2 circle 2s, but like those are 50-50s for me. I'm not mad if I miss a 40-footer. So yeah, I just had confidence in myself.
So Chris and Calvin, I want to get your guys' thoughts. How often do you guys find yourself in that scenario that Erika just talked about? Like, okay, this is the play that I've practiced, this is what I've done, and then everyone else on your card does something different. And how often do you guys find yourself second guessing, like, maybe I should do that? Chris, it might be different for you being left-handed.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see many similar plays.
Right. You try to go with your game and your game plan. Me and Calvin play very different games, and I can't throw a lot of the shots that he does. Most people can't throw a lot of the shots Calvin does. Right. And so I have to, stick to my game. But there are times when maybe the wind is doing certain things and you can kind of get a tell from other people's shots. But sometimes you just got to send it, and it's uncomfortable to play really well sometimes because you have to risk a lot, or at least I do on some holes, to get birdies. And so, but it feels good when you do it. And so sometimes you just got to risk stuff, especially at Country Club. There's some risky shots out there.
Yeah, I think most of the time it's just sticking to my own game plan. Unless it's super windy and you're watching other people's discs do crazy things, I think it's most of the time just do what you planned on doing.
Right. Even at that point, too, if everyone's discs are getting just tossed around, it's kind of like, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to take the most overstable thing, hammer it, and just hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
So speaking of hopefully not, but playing in less than ideal conditions, tomorrow does seem like it's going to be a little bit worse than today in terms of wind. Do you guys have game plans specifically for, like, okay, hole 1 for Calvin, are you going to take your overstable destroyer in the wind and then your straighter one in the calm winds? Or is it just like, I'm trying to put myself in this spot?
A lot of that's going to be dependent on what direction the wind's blowing. Massive headwind, I'm going to be pulling out my most overstable destroyer and just throwing it hard and letting it fade. But if you have a tailwind, I'm going to be pulling out my flippiest destroyer just to get it to really go anywhere and not just hides her out. So, as far as wind goes, it's disc choice has a lot to do with what direction it's blowing, whether it's across the fairway, in your face, to your back.
Do you change your disc more, or do you change the angle more?
I change the disc more
than
the angle.
Just whatever's going to kind of get that same shape you want.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So before we move into tomorrow, I want to know what didn't go well for you guys today. What is, Calvin, it sounds like yours is probably going to be putting. You've mentioned a couple times you weren't happy with your inside the circle putting.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris and Erika, what would you guys say is the one thing that you want to improve tomorrow? You want to do better than you did today?
I would say my consistency and focus. I feel like today there were a couple shots where I was just kind of like, I guess after I threw it, I was like, didn't really concentrate. I wasn't focused. But when I did throw good shots, I was focused. So I think just mentally being there and being, present at the shot that I'm throwing would be the biggest thing. But for the wind, I've played country club a lot of times in the wind, and I've played a lot of wind golf. So as Calvin said, whichever way the wind is blowing is what you kind of have to choose. But more times than not, for me, I usually go more over stable in heavy winds, regardless of like almost which way it's blowing, because I feel like that's the safest thing to do.
For me, if you can't tell, I have to deal with my nerves a lot, and just like trusting myself. Yeah, a little bit anxious over here. And it gets better the more that I play, but this is my first year touring full time, so it's like always, I don't know. It's just always gotten me.
It's day to day.
Yeah, it's day to day, and the first couple rounds, like the first hole, no nerves, felt great. Would like birdie the first or second hole, and then would get nerves. Like now I'm doing good, and then immediately
like, oh
bogey.
God, don't mess up.
Yeah, and so I get up to the tee, and like either I'm excited and jittery and not focused, like oh man, I just got that super cool fluffed it OB. Like I've bogeyed so quickly after my birdies every single day, and I reined it in today and managed to stay under pars on the back nine. So I think just having that confidence. Continuing that and not, I don't know, letting my nerves get the best of me. With like windy, I'm not the most confident wind golfer. I'm better at it than I used to be. I got to practice a lot in the wind. So that'll be tough, but just making sure, like when I say I second guess myself, it's not just what other people are doing. It's like, oh, it's windy. Should I try this disc that I didn't practice, or should I play it safe? Or it's just like constant, like, what about this? What about this? So just picking the one thing. And just trying to.
I think it's kind of like a skill that you learn over time is because some of my better rounds, I start off poor and then come back. Yeah. And then you're just rolling and you're feeling it. And then I've had some rounds where I birdie the first three and then just go stale and don't birdie anything else. And I think that it's kind of a skill to learn to know that you are playing very well, but to keep that rolling and to not let your mind wander. And wonder about like what if you do birdie the rest of them, or what if you mess up and everybody's going to talk about how you got an 8 on this hole. Like it's hard to not let your mind wander.
Have you considered just not messing up then?
Oh,
that would make things easier, right?
Never.
Really?
I've never
considered that.
I've considered it, and I've tried it, and I've failed every time.
It's tough though. Like that's golf, is to be mentally strong, because we can all throw the shots. But it's, that repetition and the consistency to do it every single time.
So, Calvin, really quick before we get out of here, I want to kind of give you the floor. Most people will remember last year the final round was very windy, and somehow you managed to play without wind. Everyone else was playing in the wind, and you just didn't play in the wind. Do you mind sharing either with Chris, Erika, myself, or anyone at home, like, how you do that? How do you just not play in the wind when everyone else is like having 40-mile-an-hour gusts?
You just gotta pay off the right wind gods.
Do they have a phone number? Because I'm interested.
No phone number. Not one that I'd give. I'm kind of sharing them. No, I mean I think realistically it's just when it's windy, you really do have to trust yourself. And if you're trying to attack, which I was, you really have to trust yourself, because you're going to be taking some aggressive lines where the consequences are pretty bad if you mess up. And I think it's that round in particular, I just was executing tee shots really well. I didn't have a ton of putting to do. I think I even missed a couple putts inside the circle when it was super gusty, but I was throwing the disc super well.
Do you think tomorrow you'll kind of be drawing back on that and thinking about it, or are you just that's the past? I'm trying to win this one. That's last year.
Yeah, that has really no bearing on tomorrow. So I'm not really worried about what I did last year. I'm just going to go out there and try to throw the best shots I can tomorrow.
Try to win it. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Chris, Erika, obviously the best of luck to you as well.
We're going to win it too.
I hope so. Somehow I hope all three of you find a way to win. That came out kind of wrong. I shouldn't say somehow I hope you find a way to win. I'm saying that somehow I hope 3 people can win 2 divisions.
Great.
Mostly because Chris and Calvin, you guys would have to both beat and lose to each other. Erika, I hope you win. Chris and
We'll
Calvin,
do a playoff.
I
Yeah.
hope you guys win and then
I would
just
have to
go on
shoot
to an
probably
eternal
like
playoff.
35 under or something. It could be
believe
done, I guess.
It's possible.
The best round of all time.
Yeah.
Hit up Calvin's win gods.
Yeah.
See what they can do.
All right.
It's probably going to be expensive, but might be worth it.
100% it would be worth it.
Good luck getting him to give you the phone number, though, seeing as you would have to, beat him. He'll probably give it to you after tomorrow's round.
I'm down
No.
with that. No, I will not.
He'll give it to you on your 39th birthday, right as you have to start playing Masters,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
That's
just
good.
get him out of here.
I don't have to play Masters ever. I can compete with the
He's
young
never
guns.
getting the number.
Just to be clear.
I don't need it. I'm fine in the wind.
All right. We're going to remember that. In 24 hours, I'm going to be like, hey, Chris,
Okay.
remember when you said you were fine in the wind and then you just shredded, shot 35 under, tied Calvin? You guys are still in the playoff because it's not over.
Yeah.
Remember
that?
that?
Would be sick.
All right, go ahead, throw your putt. Click. I'll be there. I will film that. The whole thing.
Okay. I'm down.
Sweet. Thank
Deal.
you, Calvin. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Erika. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night where we will have another assortment of players. And we'll see how people finished. We can check back in, see how Chris did in the wind, see if Chris and Calvin's playoff is over. We'll see who came out on top, but it's probably still going.